Good evening, everyone. It's time to start the forum. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished candidates. Welcome to the 2012 Forum, sponsored by the Enterprise Association and the Elections Committee. I am Judy Butler. I am the chair of the OPA Elections Committee, and I will lead the forum. Please, as a courtesy to the candidates and the audience, please silence your cell phones. Let us begin, and I just realized I don't see a flag, but I'd like to start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance anyway.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This year, there are 2 positions open on the Board of Directors, and here are our 5 candidates as they are seated before you, starting on your left. Mark Bennett, Bill Cordwell, Bill Wentworth, Sharon O'Hare, and Marty Clark. The candidates participated in a blind draw on Friday, June 8th, to determine their position on the ballot and at today's forum. I would like to introduce to you the Elections Committee members. They are in the back of the round table: Cheryl Bissell, Diane McGraw, Laura Moon, and the 5th member, John Topford, could not attend tonight. Our board liaison is Dan Statursky, and I don't see him here tonight.
He's overdressed.
Teresa Travatello, our Marketing and Public Relations Director, is our OPA liaison. Our timekeeper is Tom Butler. We would like input from our members in attendance in the forum in the form of questions. There are 3 by 5 cards available. Please write a question and pass it to one of our committee members if you haven't already done so. The 3rd session of the forum is set aside for questions from the audience. The format is as follows. Each candidate may make an opening statement limited to 3 minutes. The timekeeper will give them a 30-second warning. Then there will be 5 or more questions from the OPA Elections Committee. Each candidate will have 2 minutes, to answer the same question. After that, a special period will begin where the candidates will ask one another a question. And the cue for this process will be done by number draw. Then we will have a 3rd session, which will be the questions from the audience. At the conclusion of the question and answer period, each candidate will be allowed up to 3 minutes for a closing statement. The first question will begin with Mark Bennett. The remaining candidates will then answer in the order in which they are seated. Subsequent questions will then be rotated in the order in which they are seated. Question number 1. Excuse me. Mr. Bennett?
evening. It's nice to see so many friends. Thanks for coming to hear what your candidates have to say. I'm Mark Bennett. I moved here in March 1992, and I've loved living here ever since. I live in a wonderful, affordable community where in the spring we can actually enjoy special traffic tie-ups occasioned by the charming annual ritual of geese and their new families crossing the road. My concerns and hopes, however, are that we continue to be a wonderful, affordable community. I see a year, however, where OPA's budget will approach $21.2 million. The annual assessment is $2,050. The Ocean Pines Yacht Club, for its 18th consecutive year, will lose money again. Golf operations, aquatics, and the yacht club will lose over $1.5 million, and uncollected property assessments will approach $3 million. This year, the one I'm referring to here, is 2022. Yes, the figures are speculative, and there's some voodoo math here to be sure. But these kinds of figures are the direction where I see OPA's fiscal realities headed, unless our property owners in 2012 send a message that reads curtail unnecessary spending, thank you, lower annual assessments, and end the current policy of keeping substantive association matters shielded from legitimate scrutiny by our property owners. If current spending levels aren't reduced and continue on their existing path, the OPA will incur in the next decade another $12 million in golf, aquatic, and yacht club deficits alone, and that's without spending even more millions in new capital spending. While some of us are financially secure, the growing segment of our property owners are seeing their purchasing power constricted as home values have fallen and as real estate taxes and the cost of basic necessities escalate. Those living on fixed incomes are feeling it worse than most, as seen in uncollected OPA assessments now approaching $800,000. That's the current figure. I seek election to the Ocean Pines Board as a director, committed to reining in our spending, reducing annual assessments, and restoring transparency in the governance of our association. If you see things as I do, I'll ask for your vote. If you elect me, the only special interest I will represent on our board are those of Ocean Pines property owners. Thank you.
Okay, now, Cordwell?
Good evening. Thank you for coming. By coming here, this is how we get things done with people being involved. My name is Bill Cordwell. I am running candidate for Ocean Pines Board of Directors. My wife and I bought this property in here 14 years ago, and we moved here a couple years ago full time. We love Ocean Pines. We love everything about Ocean Pines except for a couple things. And one major reason that I got involved is the politics that I see going on. Just because I wasn't a full-time resident doesn't mean that I wasn't watching what was going on. I was down every other weekend, reading the paper, whatever. There is a group in here, many are here tonight, that don't want to do anything. Don't want to do anything in this community. We can't have it. I'm sorry. We have the amenities. We have to keep them up. One big example of that is the community center that we have. That community center was too small and obsolete when we moved into it. But we always compromise with the group that doesn't want to do anything. So we make everything we build something just for the sake of building it. So here, what are we doing here tonight? We should be in that community center, brand new, instead of coming up these steps, having people that can't get up here come up this little cattle walk. That's ridiculous. But we continue to pour hundreds of thousands of dollars, which we've already poured and continue to pour, into the old administration building. And that's a 40-year-old building. Why wasn't that all encompassed? That costs us more money in the long run when we cut ourselves short and we do things on the cheap like that. That costs us more in the long run. My main focus is, and all I want to do is build it once, build it right, maintain it, and we don't ever have to worry about it again. It will outlive all of us here. Thank you for your time. We're going to have questions and all that. I'll answer them to the best of my ability, and that's my focus. Thank you.
Bill Ledford?
Thank you for coming this evening. The major task facing us today is the $34 million worth of assets and property that must be supported in a fiscally responsible manner that recognizes the economic diversity of our community. My wife Mary and I have been OPA members since 1994, becoming full-time residents in 2005. During this time, I served on the Public Advisory Committee for 5 years, serving as its chair for 3 years. I'm in the process of completing my 1-year term as the board of director, during which time I have served as the board's vice president and board liaison to the Budget and Finance Committee, as well as the Comprehensive Plan Committee. I'm a professional educator. I spent 30 years in Emerald County Public Schools, 17 years as principal. During this time, I oversaw the merger of 2 rival high schools and the construction of a $25 million instructional facility. After retiring from Emerald County, I worked for 12 years at Loyola College, where I had the opportunity to co-write and design the administrative internship program. I served on 5, had membership on 5 boards at both the public and community level. Presently, I'm in my 16th year of serving on the Maryland Aviation Commission, which I've been appointed to by 3 different governors. Our major responsibility there is to oversee the capital projects, the food, beverage, and retail operation, and the interviewing and recommending for hiring a senior staff of all the state-owned airports. Recently, I was selected to participate in the selection of the Worcester County Public Schools Superintendent. That was a very successful experience and worthwhile venue for the community. During my time on the board, I think there were 2 significant things that I've been able to accomplish. First of all, I made the motion that directed the general manager to proceed with plans for the yacht club and country club, which required him to seek input from OPA membership, which resulted in our 3 town meetings. As a result of the 3 town meetings, we did 2 things. We first of all said we would just set the yacht club as a priority, and from further input, there were design changes to the visual design of the proposed yacht club. Also, the other things with regard to the beach parking tax liability, I had an opportunity to make my fellow board members aware of the fact that we already had a model in place that took care of our amenities for both membership and people who were not members of OPA. After sharing that information with my fellow board members, we put that proposal before our lawyer and independent auditors, and they said if we included that in this model, this should take care of our tax liability for the future. Thank you so much, and again, thank you for coming out this evening.
Thank you all for being here. This is what it's all about. We all get together, we need to listen and talk and communicate. And I'm moving forward because if I can see you better, maybe you can see me better, and that's part of communication. My name is Sharon O'Hare, and I've lived here for 38 years. Moved here in 1975 as a young woman, a young mother, and a young wife. At that time, there were 100 people living here in Ocean Pines. Hard to believe, isn't it? There were 100 homes here. Of course, all of them were not year-round homes. Actually, my son, Dan, who's the youngest son that I have, he is, to my knowledge, the oldest living native-born child here at Ocean Pines. So that's how far back I go, okay? Through the years, I've been involved in community events and activities, and we actually started playground programs in Ocean Pines, the park programs, because there weren't those things. Now we have a fabulous department doing that. But the biggest thing I've probably been involved in was Ocean Pines' 35th anniversary. You were here in 2003, hopefully some of you attended that. It was a 3-day event. And we had golf tournaments and dinner dances and parades and free entertainment, all kinds of great things. But the interesting thing, this was not supposed to be a money-raising, fundraising thing. We had $20,000 in excess after this 3-day event. So $7,000 went to the playground committee, the Southgate, that new playground that was built because they were short $7,000 to get their goal. We gave them that, they got it built. And the rest of the money became the seed money for the most important project I've been involved with, and that's the Veterans Memorial at the Southgate. That, along with my co-mother, I like to call it the founding co-mother, is Roseanne Richmond, who has passed away. But we were the two that were instrumental, along with hundreds of volunteers, to get that built. And in 2005, that property was dedicated. And as all of you know, we have those great ceremonies there every year, and all of the 5th grade students in this county attend that ceremony, or attend the Veterans Memorial to learn about patriotism. I think that's really important that we do that for our youth. Now, what do I bring to the board? I bring experience. I bring knowledge. I've been here a long, long time. I've seen a lot of things happen. I'm a businesswoman. I've been selling real estate in Ocean Pines for 33 years. I know why you moved here, and I know why people leave. I can make decisions. And I think that's important. All those traits are important in board members. Communication, we need to hear what you have to say, and I want to hear and help make decisions based upon the best input that I can get from all of you. So thank you all for being here, and looking forward to the rest of the questions.
I need a question. Hi, my name is, thank you, by the way, to be an election committee and fellow candidates. My name is Marty Clark. I've been a member of Ocean Pines Association since 1977, raised a family here. Ran my business in Ocean Pines for the past 30 plus years. I was elected to serve as a director in 2007. I also served as the president of the Pines Point Marina Condominium Association, and I've served on numerous advisory committees, Ocean Pines Clubs Advisory, the Wastewater Task Force, Demographic Study Committee, Budget and Finance, just to name a few. But I'm most proud of my accomplishments with grassroots Ocean Pines groups. And this is, we'll be able to draw a line right down the middle between Bob and I. I don't think we'll be elected as running mates. I was proud to serve as chairman of STOP, which was Stop Taxing Ocean Pines in 2005, where we were instrumental in stopping the ill-conceived $6 million community center out in front of the Veterans Memorial. I would do it again. On the other end, I also was the director that brought the community center that we now have, which I find pretty darn nice compared to what we had. And it's built, there were no special assessments, and it's not killing us financially. I also had the honor of serving as co-chairman with Charles Herpin. Those that know Charlie know what a great guy he is. And again, we stopped my wife made me strike this, but I'm going to say it, the dumbest idea in the history of Ocean Pines to build a commercial marina at our swim and racket club. Well, with Charlie and I together, we were able to, and many people in the community were able to raise a petition and bring that to a halt. I'm also a lifetime member of the Veterans Memorial, of the VFW. I'm also a sponsor of Worcester County Ducks Unlimited. Our assessments in Ocean Pines have increased 60% in 7 years. Our property values have gone down 30%. If I'm elected to the board, it's going to be my goal to reduce our assessments by promoting conservative zero-based budget, incorporating reasonable reserves, I'll encourage sound business practices in our amenities, and I'll urge the board majority to immediately initiate the long-term deferred maintenance on our existing facilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your opening statements. Now we'll start with questions. Question number 1. And this will go to Mr. Bennett. The Ocean Pines community has been here for over 40 years. We have several public buildings that will require some serious evaluation and decisions. What will be your approach to this challenging issue?
When we first proposed the community center, I was one of the directors who was very energetic and enthusiastic and leadership for it, and it passed. And subsequent change in numbers warranted a new solution, which a fellow who had done Dr. No brought about. And he and I have certainly found ourselves coalescing in certain opinions of how we do things around here. And given the tenor of the times, people's pocketbooks, obviously we have to maintain and strengthen our amenities. Everyone here supports that. The question is, at a time like this, we want to go into the hole for millions upon millions of dollars when we could do it a little more affordably, prudently. Their proposals, not just for the yacht club, but to rebuild this building, which is not exactly a showpiece, and other things obviously need maintenance. So my approach to those structural needs, infrastructure needs, is certainly to maintain them, improve them, but to do so on a limited, prudent basis.
We need to stop taking one step forward and 2 steps back. We've been going forward, and then somebody comes in, says, okay, we'll cut assessments, let's take 2 steps back, let's stop everything that we're doing. Our buildings are 40 years old. They're falling apart. We need to do something. We've backed ourselves into a corner where the yacht club has been deemed, parts of it have been deemed dangerous. You can't even go into parts of the yacht club. We need to continue with the 5-year funding plan. Hopefully we'll fund it the next year or two of the 5-year funding plan. Then we've got money to take care of our situations. We're not this money's been being set aside for those specific purposes. When your assessments were raised, that's put aside for those specific purposes to take care of these facilities. We have got to do this. We are just too far in the hole. I'm sorry, but the money is there. It will be there at the end, especially at the end of this 5-year, if we continue to fund this 5-year funding plan that we have in place now. I want a fixed income. I don't have $30 a year to me is a lot of money, but I see that we're just in the hole. It's got to be done. We've just got to stop doing nothing. That's how we got in this hole. Thank you.
The life expectancy of public buildings is approximately 40 years, 45 years most. First thing we need to do is prioritize the needs of these facilities. Now, of course, there needs to be a funding issue, and we need to use multiple streams to fund that so that we do 2 things. Number one, do not distract Ocean Pines, do not deplete our current conservative funds so that would leave us vulnerable if an emergency situation occurs. So we need to use multiple streams of financing to do this, and we need to do it in a responsible manner. We have to do it in a manner such that it is fiscally responsible, and we also have to take into account the diverse financial situation with many of our community members.
The question was about amenities in general, not just one specific building. So I'm going to talk in general. Last year's association fee that all of us paid, $843 a year, the assessment, your portion that went toward the upkeep of that amenities cost you less than 50 cents a month. When you work out the numbers, that's what it costs you. Because we bring in money, there's different ways the budget works, but that's what the actual numbers are. Now, what about the infrastructure? Because there's two sides to all of these buildings. We have a 5-year plan in place. We're in year 4 of it. We've been putting up to $120 in this plan for the improvements of our buildings. Next year, another $30 increase should be $150, and then it levels off. But the board has been proactive in planning to take care of these buildings. The one important thing I discovered when I decided to run, I said, I need to know the numbers. If I didn't know how much we are putting in and where our money is going, then I have no business sitting on your board. That's number one. Someone's got to keep control of the money, and your board is responsible for that. So when I discovered we have almost over $6 million in reserves. Now there's different kinds of reserves. We have about 5 different reserves, but we've got the money to do it. The board has been planning for this. So if the money is in there and we need the amenities improved, then my opinion is that we move forward. Now, which ones do we work with? Right now, the number one important with everybody's issue is the yacht club, and that's what the board is addressing. You're going to have the vote. It's going to be a referendum issue. There shouldn't be any need for a special assessment because we've got the money. But you're going to have the vote. It's going to be your decision to make if we build it or not. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to stay with the yacht club because it's simpler to deal with one problem at a time. What do they say about eating an elephant? Start from here. In 2010, our engineer, Sule, told us the foundation at the yacht club was failing. To date, we have done none. We've done some of the recommendations to prop it up, but not fix it. It needs to be fixed. I don't think it's safe. It needs to be fixed. We have second floor decks held up with wedding parties dancing on them, with props. Lumber sistered on failing posts. They're temporary supports. They've only been there 5 years. That ain't temporary in my mind. You know, I hear from other candidates that the money is there. The money's there at the moment. That's if they don't spend it on new golf courses and greens and other unbudgeted items. We need to spend that money and fix the yacht club. It hasn't been maintained. We don't deserve a new yacht club. That was fine. Let's fix it. We also hear public buildings only last 40 years. What was that I was looking at when I went to the Maryland State House? I think it was built 380 years ago, wasn't it? The U.S. Capitol, when was that built? Is anybody going to go up to Washington when we tear down the Washington Monument and replace it? This is silly. My house is 40 years old. I'm not planning on tearing it down. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question, and we will start with Bill Cordwell. Do we have adequate reserves for ocean funds?
If we wanted to just take on one thing, we do have adequate reserves, but we have too many other things to do. Right? Too many other things. We have to have a long-range plan, and that's what the five-year funding plan did. Okay? We are going to be able to take care of one thing, then another thing, then another thing, if we stick to our guns and don't get beat down like we have in the past. The money will be there. We should all be demanding that we have better facilities than we have now. We shouldn't be just saying, oh, well, let's just fix it. Let's do that. The place is dangerous. Let's fix what? We've already had the bids that say to fix it's $100,000 cheaper than building a brand new facility. What is that? Fixing but it's a functional dump for right now. Okay? So, facts are facts. We have to prioritize and have a long-range plan. The money will be there if we stick to what we're doing, what the board suggested 4 years ago, and stick with this 5-year funding plan. The money will be there. We will be able to take care of it, and we will be able to demand of our board to get something done. Thank you.
With our reserve fund plan, the money absolutely is there. Not only is it there today, but it is there for the future. Now, with regard to the life expectancy of public buildings, here we're talking about stick buildings as opposed to concrete buildings. And I would also like to remind Mr. Clark that the Capitol buildings and those monument-type buildings, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars were put into them to maintain them over the years. So we're not exactly talking about the same thing, and his house certainly isn't getting the same public use that our facilities use, or how our facilities use. The money's there. We've been doing that for the last 4 years. It's time to act. It's time to move forward, and that's what we need to do. Thank you.
The question was, do we have adequate reserves? One thing I've learned is what kind of reserves we have. We have more than one. We're talking, a lot of us have talked about the big ticket items, the replacement of the capital items. That's one reserve. That's the 5-year plan that we've all been talking about. But there's a big picture when we're talking about reserves. The other reserves are things that are in Ocean Pines that wear out on a day-to-day basis. For example, the trucks, the computers, the equipment that we have in the office. Do you know we have a 42-page list of 1,500 items in Ocean Pines that are in reserves? So when these items wear out, we've got the money for them to replace it. It doesn't have to be something that comes out of the budget. It's been planned for. The board's been doing that for years. To give you an example, let's say we have a backhoe, and it costs $50,000 to buy this backhoe, and it's going to have a lifespan of 10 years. Every year, the board is putting away $5,000. So in 10 years, when it's ready to buy the new one, we got it. The question was, do we have adequate reserves? My answer is, I think the board is very proactive to ensure that we do have adequate reserves. Thank you.
I haven't seen the most recent number, but I'm going to take a guess that it's going to be low. We have $7 million in reserves. $7 million in reserves. There's banks in Worcester County that ain't got $7 million in assets. We got $7 million in the banks. And everybody up here seems to feel comfortable that that money's not going to go away. It's just going to stay there and wait for us to buy it back. Well, I don't feel so comfortable. Not when I've seen indoor pools bought unbudgeted at the drop of a hat. Not when I see us making offers on golf courses for God knows what reason. You know what? If you don't give the money, they can't blow it. And here's something that nobody ever addresses. It doesn't cost one nickel more to renovate this building if you have the money in the bank or you don't. When you need the money, give me a call. But I don't feel real good with you investing my money at 1% and maybe, just maybe, fixing some greens for $900,000. Thank you.
The question deals with, do we have adequate reserves? I believe strongly we have adequate reserves for things that are planned. Things that are unplanned, Marty stole my thunder, to maybe spend another $1 million if we could have on buying a golf course, and that after we would have won it, maybe we would have told the members. Unbudgeted things. My concern is not that we have adequate reserves. My concern is that we have become experts at losing money in key functions in Ocean Pines where we shouldn't have to be losing money. The ability to solve problems in our case is simply to subsidize them. We need to get a better handle on the controls of how we spend money, because because we wouldn't need to raise all kinds of additional money if we weren't losing millions on some of our amenities. We have adequate reserves for now. If I have a concern over the long haul, subject to whatever our insurance may pay, is what would happen where Ocean Pines to suffer a catastrophic hurricane, extreme flooding, or other unplanned acts of God. So I'd rather keep some of that money in the bank and operate the association on a more prudent, fiscally conservative basis. Thank you.
Okay, question number.
Question number 3, Bill Wentworth will start. In your opinion, what are the pros and cons of outsourcing as a tool in managing the amenities in the community?
Thank you. Well, first of all, I would fall back on my experience with outsourcing, and that is the situation I'm in as a member of the Maryland Aviation Commission. When we talk about outsourcing Ocean Pines, we do it absolutely wrong. We always hear talking about we're going to outsource and pay someone to come in and run the yacht club, run the golf course. My experience, the Maryland Aviation Commission, we'll talk about the Baltimore Washington International Airport, which is a multi-million dollar operation. The food, beverage, and retail operation out there, every person who operates one of those shops pays the airport, which is the state, 70% of their gross income to operate there. Now, for that money, their utilities are paid for and their maintenance is taken care of. So, outsourcing is absolutely a way to go. But we're going to do it. We're not giving it away. We need to have those folks pay us based on their gross revenue, number one. Number two, that's the pros of outsourcing. The cons of outsourcing, we may not have the control that the community may want. They may bring something into the facility, use the yacht club for an example. They may have it a facility to operate in such a fashion that really doesn't fit our morals or what our expectations are. So you need to be cognizant of those situations. Thank you.
Pros and cons of outsourcing. To my knowledge, the only facility that we have outsourced is the golf course at this point. The rest are all hired people on board. The golf course, a little history of it, there was a committee that went to interview, and they interviewed Casper Golf and Kemper Golf. And they made a decision that Casper was the best fit for Ocean Pines. Casper Golf has done a 3-year contract plus a few months. We're about a year into it. Have any of you seen the new commercials for the yacht club over the golf course? I think they look pretty good, and that was Casper Golf has done that. Now, the bottom line is they're responsible to get an improvement here. They are not getting a percentage of our profits. We pay them so much per month for their knowledge that they bring to us, and then the profit is all stays with us. Now, if they're not successful and they're a contract, then what? Will they be renewing the contract or not? That's going to be a board and a general manager's decision. I think that's the pros and cons. You're bringing in the experts who know about that with outsourcing. The cons, perhaps, we don't have as much control, perhaps, but maybe the benefit is certainly outweighed the cons by bringing in somebody who is actually trained and this is their expertise. So I think there's pros and cons for both of them, but right now the only one I know that is outsourced is the golf course.
First, you and I have maybe a different thought of what outsourcing is. When I think outsourcing, I think the other guy's got some skin in the game. I'm thinking lease. Casper, by the way, does get paid if there's a profit. But the way we're operating this golf course, they better not cash that check or plan on it. I would, if we had leased out the golf course to a third-party operator, April of 2011, the last fiscal year, for $1, we would be $250,000 ahead. Think about it. $1 would be $250,000 ahead. Bill's with the Airport Authority in Maryland. Frederick City leased their airport, which was turning into a cow pasture 30 years ago, for $10 a year. They took it back after 20 years. It's the most successful offshoot airport, I think, in Maryland, isn't it? Guys, let's put some skin in the game. I know people that will come and lease this golf course in the morning, and I'm talking pros. Bob Haley will lease it. Does anybody remember Bob? He opened the door. Thank you.
I work as a management consultant. I deal with the issue of outsourcing on a daily and weekly basis. There's a time and a place for outsourcing, and it depends not on the philosophy, but on the realities of the business you're running or the business model you're dealing with. My overall concern here is our business model, because Ocean Pines isn't very good about running businesses successfully. So there are places where perhaps we should turn to other operations with either better expertise, better marketing skills, or management skills. But I do note that for those who thought that Billy Casper would have been the answer, the messiah for the golf course, I hate to mention that we've lost more money than ever, and we have fewer members than ever. So outsourcing, flip a coin, look at the realities, and choose a judgment.
The realities are, outsourcing to Billy Casper was very good for the golf course and the community. This golf course actually looks like a golf course instead of the cow pasture it used to look like. They're managing it, they're turning it over. We have more outside play than ever. And don't get to saying that we have less members, because guess what? Members take up tee times. And so don't think this, okay, we have less members, so that's a bad thing. Outside play is where we make our money. So there's more outside play going on now than there is, and it continues to grow. Now, the cons are, if you want to turn the yacht club over to somebody else, what happens if they come in and they put in something that people don't like and aren't going to go to? And we're paying them to come in and manage our facility, and then where are we? Can we go back and start it back up and go back to us running it? That's a major facility. The golf course has a few employees. They brought in a superintendent that knows what he's doing, and the course is actually starting to look like a golf course. So that's a pro. Like I said, the cons are, do you turn it over to somebody that you don't know what they're going to do? You don't know what kind of menu they're going to put in there. You don't know what their prices are going to be, and then we could be in trouble at that point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to question number 4, and that starts with Sharon O'Hare. What do you see as your primary role as an elected director of Ocean Pines?
What do I see as my primary role as a director, elected director of Ocean Pines? It's all of you. Your Ocean Pines. We're Ocean Pines. We all need to work at this to make it better. This board will sit up here and make decisions, but they've got to have the input from you. And communication is so vital to all decisions. We need to help each other. We need to work together to make this a great community. Remember why you moved here? Do you remember that? You moved here because of the ocean. You moved here because, and not, you would have moved to the mountains. I mean, you moved here, that was a big reason. You moved here because you could afford to live here. And you moved here because of the amenities. So we need to work together to make this a good community and get the amenities to continue to be a good, valuable property. So why are we here? It's because we love living here, and you guys are what makes it all alive.
I think the most important job, of course, is to approve a budget. That budget drives our assessment. that, it's really up to our manager to be sure that we give him the correct policy and direction to implement the collection of those assessments and what they're to be spent on. The number one failing is we're not maintaining anything. And anybody who doesn't believe that, take a look around. And actually, this building looks in better shape than the last time I was in it, but it needs to be renovated. It doesn't need a coat of paint. If you treated your house the way we treat our amenities, the ECC would have you in handcuffs.
If you would like me to serve on the next board, my paramount responsibility as a director is to maintain your property values. That is the number one job of a director. And my personal goal is to do that on the most affordable basis that I can muster to help lead the association. I've heard it said on more than one occasion, we have all the money we need. We have all the money we need. I've heard the money will be there. Thank you, Nancy Pelosi. Thank you, Barney Frank, and thank you, Barack Obama. The money will not be there. The money doesn't happen. Ocean Pines can't print money. We need to run an affordable association. We need to stash the losses. We need to get a handle on managing this place so that you're not getting bills every single year to cover our losses.
Thank you. The primary goal of the board of directors is, like Ms. O'Hare said, you and me, all of us. That's what we do. We need to take, if the manager comes up with an idea, the board of directors needs to explore that idea, see if it's functional, see if it can be done, and then say yes or no. Okay? Sometimes wild ideas are thrown out there. The board has to be there to make an intelligent decision on that. I'm not going to be a comedian. This is serious business to me. I'm passionate about what I'm doing here, or I wouldn't be here. Okay? I'm not blaming anybody but us. We're the ones that have let us get to the situation that we're getting in, that we've gotten into, where these places are falling apart. Okay? We've let the assessments go up, and then we've got other people coming in. Okay, we're going to take that down. In the past, we've had assessments go up. The very next year, other people come in. What do? They take the interest out of the reserves that we already have in there, so we don't have it when it comes up. And what happened? The last time we had that, we're paying up. When we have paid that $30 a yearly increase, now $4 of that is going to pay off the $500 million deficit that the board strapped us with years ago. Okay? How can we do that? How can we let that happen? We can't let that happen. Our job is to listen to you, and I can tell you, I'm the only one up here who was at every single facilities planning meeting, even if I sat in every minute of it. When it was on Tuesday, when it was on Saturday, when I knew it was going to be the same meeting for 4.5 hours, 5 hours, I sat there because at the end, there was member questions and answers, and I wanted to be there so I could hear every single thing that every member had to say, whether it was good, whether it was bad, or not. Thank you.
The board's major responsibility is OPA. Long and short of it, OPA. That's the board's major responsibility. Our job is a policy-making board. Our job is to develop a policy that will help and direct the general manager of our association to give him the tools that he needs to make OPA a successful and valuable community. We must maintain our facilities. We must maintain our grounds. We must maintain our properties, just like we have to maintain our own individual homes. That is the purpose of board education. I'm sorry, my education background. the board of directors, I'm the board of directors. No, I went back in history here. That is the purpose of the board of directors, again, to make policy, to help us do what we need to do. And no one does it individually as a board. The board operates as a unit. You must be able to draw a consensus among your board members to get accomplished what you want to get accomplished. No one up here, no one on the present board individually can accomplish anything unless you get a consensus among the fellow board members. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final question in this session from the election committee, we'll start with Mr. Clark. If you had one thing you could change in Ocean Pines, what would it be?
Only one, Mark.
Only one director, and it'd be me. It is scary. Really scary. But I can live with it. Dana, one thing. Do something. We studied a community center. Rick Rock did the first community center committee probably in '95. And I watched him get up to climb the mountain and roll back down. Climb up the mountain, roll back. And it was always because they picked up so much luggage on the way up. Started off, we needed this. By the time we got to the top, everybody had a brand new Cadillac in the garage. And of course it failed at referendum. And this happened time and time again. We got to just stop it, move forward, fix it, and be done with it. If we keep studying this patient, we're going to need an undertaker, not a man.
Well, other than currently morning, one of the improvements, one thing that I wish I could change is an understanding that we all have Ocean Pines, that I don't believe it's one Ocean Pines. I believe there are many Ocean Pines, many groups within it. People who are retired need to realize there are young families here, singles. This community will continue for generations. Some of the younger people have to realize that it is a community that is arguably 60% or more of retirees. And we need to maintain certain things for their benefit, or the majority. There isn't this one Ocean Pines. I like to think we're a happy family. But there are a lot of reasons why we live in Ocean Pines. I didn't move here for the ocean as much as I moved here for lifestyle, but it's nice to have an ocean, especially when your grandkids are coming. Nice to have water, especially if you have a boat. Convenient. But there are lots of reasons why we live in Ocean Pines, why we continue to live in Ocean Pines, and we love it for lots of different reasons. For some people, it's lots of friends. For some people, it's being close enough to your children and far enough away. And for other people, first thing I do in the morning, I like to go out and look at my birds. Got lots of feeders. I love the wildlife here. 30 seconds, good. We'll send you home early. Good.
This is going to be pretty easy. I agree with Mr. Clark and I agree with Mr. Bennett. We love Ocean Pines. We love here. We just wish that all groups would get together for a common purpose. Some groups feel like they just can't do anything. I get it. I get that. But let's get together and get something done. Like Mr. Clark said, we've been spinning our wheels for just too many years. We're just spinning our wheels. Let's get something done, but let's do it right. Let's not just do something for the sake of doing something. Thank you.
In a nutshell, we need to stop procrastination. We need to move forward. If we don't maintain our facilities, we don't move forward with these things, as Marty said, things are falling down around us. Folks, without our amenities, without our facilities, we are just 8,425 nondescript properties. We need to move forward. I'd like for everyone to look at your watch. Check the second hand on your watch. That second hand is not going to go backwards. It's going to go forward. time does not go backwards. It goes forward. Folks, we need to go forward. That's what we need to do.
You would have asked me this question back in 1975, I would have said streetlights. It was a spooky place back then with 100 homes here. Right now, though, I guess the number one thing I'd love to see change, which is probably be a utopia, is for everybody to be happy. And that's not going to happen. There's always going to be different interest groups. But I learned one thing interesting. I've been doing a lot of coffees, and everybody comes up with the same questions, basically. I start out, tell me what your concerns are. And almost inevitably, the concerns are the same. We all have the same thing. We want a nice community. And that's what we need to do, is all work together to make it happen. So I guess that would be the number one goal I see, is all of us work forward to make this a better place.
Well, thank you. That ends our first session. We'll now do the candidate questions. The committee will draw the first number.
Number 2.
Number 2. Okay. Bill Cordwell, you will ask the question, and the person who will answer it is?
Number 4.
Sharon, you will answer the question. Okay, Bill?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, I think you took a little bit of my question in the last statement. Tell us what you have been speaking about at your coffees, and what are the most important questions that you're answering.
I have 2 minutes for this.
The coffees have been wonderful. I've done 6 or 7, I've done 5 more. I'm doing at least 12 coffees, and they're great. These people are opening their homes, they're inviting their friends and neighbors in. The lists are pretty much the same. They're concerned about what we talked about tonight, our assessments. Where do they go? What about the yacht club, the IRS? What's going on with the golf course? What's going on with the swimming pool? What about the beach club? We all have the same concerns. And those are the things that I am addressing. So that's interesting. But let me tell you another little quick story, since I've got a little bit of time. The first coffee I did, there was a local community over by the Swim and Racket Club. And these people had a specific concern that affected their neighborhood. And they came up and said, Sharon, we're all upset because of this reason. And I said, well, what are you doing about it? Well, we're just complaining. I said, well, that doesn't do anything. Who do you talk to? Well, we don't know who to talk to. I said, write a letter. And they did. And they wrote a beautiful letter. Not only did they do a letter, they did a PowerPoint slideshow, and they sent it to Bob. Bob responded. Now, I'm not saying Bob wouldn't respond, but maybe Bob didn't know what the issue was. And a lot of us, when we don't know what's going on, we don't see the issues. So we have to have somebody maybe tell us. So as a community and as a group, if you have a concern, you've got to say something to somebody. One thing I did not pass in college was mind reading. I think probably most of us didn't. So that's what's been going on in coffees. And they've been great. It's been great communication. I want to see that continue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Now, Sharon, you will ask the next question, and the answer will be to
Number 1.
number 1. Mr. Bannon will answer.
Mark, given the fact that any of us elected will be one of 7, how do you see yourself being effective on board?
By obviously working with other members of the board, with whom we can build a coalition to share the values that I think the electorate is looking for. I have served on the board in a minority position. It was very difficult, but during that time I was able to get the board to pass the Environment and Natural Assets Committee, the Communications Committee, create a symposium on stormwater management and other things of which I'm quite proud.
Okay, Mark, you will ask the next question, and
Number 3.
Bill Leonard will answer.
Bill, you said, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that you would bring a marketing plan to the floor before there's a referendum. Majority leader. The board has been hard at work, as have many people working with the board and the general manager, like Ted Maroney. Considering that this proposal has been working on for about a year, can you state with confidence that you can come up with, in a few weeks, a marketing plan for a facility that will be here for arguably 30, 40, or 50 years?
Actually, Mark, this is a management plan, and to answer the question, yes. At our meeting last Friday, at the end of the meeting, the question I posed to our general manager, now that we have a new food and beverage manager on board, when can we expect a business plan to see how we're going to operate that facility and the goals, objectives, and evaluate tools to see how effective that management is. And we should have that plan within the next week or so.
Okay, thank you. Bill, now you will ask the question, and I believe our final number is number 5. Mr. Clark.
Mr. Clark, as a past board member, you're aware that the board is a policy-making board. During your time as a board director, would you please share with us anything that you personally initiated that became board policy and or changed board policy that made the positive impact on the end?
Well, I don't know whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I brought the task force to the Ocean Pines community in membership. With the initiation of the task force, which Bill Rako joined to take care of the rundown community hall over at Red Horse Park. And it worked. It worked pretty darn good, I think. The only other policy real that I remember being involved in was that for a while we were kind of running away with we're always running away with our reserve money. It's happening now, but there were some investments being made that, quite frankly, didn't fit. They may have fit the policy. The policy was wrong. We were putting money in investment, different investment tools that were fake. I mean, if anybody's had their money in the stock market 7 years ago, you know what I'm talking about. We lost some money through a maturity bond. So we initiated a policy, I believe on my motion, where all monies are in CDs now. If we're not spending them to buy golf courses or fix greens, they're in the bank. Insured FDIC. Thank you.
Okay. Second session is over. How are we doing? Do we need a little 5-minute break, or shall we continue? Continue. Okay, we're doing pretty well. The next section is on questions from the audience. And we are going to start out with a question that came via Gmail. If you read any of the press releases, we did offer opportunity for people to send a question to us via Gmail. And we got this one. So we will start again in the order that we generally have been going. And that is with Mr. Bennett beginning it. And the question is, most everyone would agree that we should spend our money wisely and cut expenses whenever possible. Aside from that, what do you think we could do to increase income? And again, you'll have 2 minutes, each of you, to answer that question.
There are a variety of good suggestions that have been around and not necessarily mine, they're not necessarily new. One is to change our liquor license at the beach club, given that there's nothing close to it. There's alcohol. It's
the same lines with the beach club, but I think you have to have a facility there that can handle something. You know, I used to go to the Ocean Club. A lot of people have been talking about making another Ocean Club. Well, the Ocean Club was losing business, and there was a reason for that, because people were finding the bars on the bay and going there for the sunsets. That's why people were leaving over there. But we are starting to market. What we need to do is make a decision on the yacht club so we can tell people, okay, start booking your weddings here. For a couple of years now, we've been saying, oh, we may tear it down, we may do this, we may do that. We weren't getting business in there because we didn't know whether we were going to be open or not. We said that we were going to be closed, so we lost all that business. Yes, we're not making money some places. Some places are picking up and are going to make money. But last year's budget, we came in $122,000 in the black. Okay, we're not losing. We're losing money at some places. We do not need to make money hand over fist at different facilities. As long as we can run them out, and some make money and some don't make money, and we're not paying out for these things. But we have to have a plan and stick to it, not keep people out in the air and not know what we're going to do in these different places. Thank you.
Number one, we have to continue to market our amenities to the outside community. It's amazing the number of people who come in and ask time and time again, oh, can I go to the yacht club? But that's probably have to live in OPA or be an OPA member to go there. We are working at doing that, and we need to do a much better job of really promoting the idea that Ocean Pines is open to the public, our amenities are open to the public. Of course, the amenities at an increased fee as opposed to an OPA member. As regard to the banquet business, I was the chairman of the Club Advisory Committee when that decision was made to shut the banquet business down because we were pending a renovation, which was never done. What that did, we can say whatever we want to say, but the facts are the facts. It cost us $100,000 in revenue. And to this point in time, I don't know that we've ever really made that back up, made that business back up. If you've ever been the father of the bride, which I have, you're planning weddings 6 months, a year, 18 months out. And that's a significant amount of business, and you cannot get that business if there's a question whether the facility can be operating or not. So we need to, again, get past go. We got to make decisions with this facility, get it done, move on. We have to do a better job of marketing ourselves, make people aware of what Ocean Pines is, and it is available to not only OPA members, but our surrounding community.
The question was, what do we do to spend money, by spending money wisely and cutting expenses, what can we do to increase our income? The question really answers itself. It's logical. We need to cut our expenses and we need to spend our money wisely, and that's what it answers. And I think Mark is right. I think Mark has given us some good ideas, and I think all the gentlemen have. Beach Club is totally underutilized. And I would love to see that building. That's our most valuable piece of property we own, that whole block oceanfront. And that is a place that I'd love to see used for. There used to be. I used to do all kinds of parties over there, customer appreciation parties and all kinds of things. We don't do that anymore. And the other comment that was made is that our amenities are open to the public, and a lot of public does not know that. And I work with the public day after day after day. You mean we can go have lunch at the yacht club? Well, of course. You mean it's not just private? No, it's not. It's open for all of you. So again, marketing is very important that we need to get that word out. The last thing is, if we stop those lawsuits at the golf course, the yacht club, and the aquatics program, that will automatically increase our income, because that's where our losses are going. Thank you.
Well, it's almost embarrassing. I've been here a long time. If you've been coming to these meetings the last 20 years, you've heard this same line. We got to do something about the yacht club, golf course, and swimming. Well, swimming was okay 20 years ago. In fact, swimming was okay. When did it go south? The indoor pool. Before that was a $250,000 a year swing to the negative. Aquatics. our expenses at the swimming pool in 2007 or 2011 were 724-ish, okay? Doesn't sound out of line. So you go down to Sea Colony and look at their budget. They were at 797. They had 9 outdoor pools and 2 indoor pools, plus the lifeguards on half a mile of beach. What's the difference? Payroll. We got a cut. I mean, we had a $16,000 payroll in the month of March. It was only open 300 hours at the indoor pool. I want a job as a lifeguard. This doesn't make any sense. If I was king, remember I was just elected the only director, I'd save you $150,000 next year at the yacht club. Shut it in the off season. John Fager's told us close it. Billy Carter's told us close it. Leighton Moore has told us we're nuts. Well, what's the matter with us? We don't want to listen to people that know what they're talking about? Golf, I'm not going to go there. If we can't turn golf around and start. Last year, 2011, Eagles Landing did $1 million more in revenue than we did. What do they got? Naked caddies? Come on. We're doing something wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Marty, in the candidate question, you still have to ask a question, and your question goes to Bill Cordwell. Are you ready for that?
Sure, why not? Bill, over the last couple of months, a majority of the sitting board of directors voted to spend $900,000 to do greens on a golf course, as well as made a $1 billion+ offer to purchase Pine Shores Golf Course on Beecher Road. Neither of these 2 capital expenses appear anywhere in any approved budget. Neither case was an emergency by any definition. If elected, would you make a firm commitment to this audience and to the members of Ocean Pines that you would never spend our hard-earned assessments or reserve dollars on an unbudgeted item shy of an out-and-out emergency? I'll make that commitment.
Well, that's quite an ambiguous question. The greens were an emergency. You said it yourself. Eagles Landing did $1 million more business than we told people not to come here because we were afraid that they came here and saw what we had last year, that they would never come back. We would lose that business forever. Okay? So, and as far as the golf course, we don't have information on that. That's a board thing. But from what I've read on social media, if we could get something that's worth $2 million for $1.1 million or $1.2 million and turn that around, that's 95 prime acres, 3 miles from Ocean City. We have to look at that. If we wait and say, well, now let's take it to a referendum and we lose it, or we're losing 95 acres right outside our door. No, I'm not going to be tied down by this, sign this little pledge, and I never do this. Things come up all the time. The golf course was an emergency. There wasn't a blade of grass on some of those greens. It needed to be done, and the second half needs to be done next year. If we can't, that'll be something else that will. I hope that we don't wind up doing half-baked like we usually do. The rest of it has to be done. We will have a top quality golf course, and I think, just looking at the signs, the positive signs that I've seen, that golf course is going to turn around. It's going to be one of the top golf courses around, and I think that is going to turn it back in our favor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. We can go back now to the audience question. And the next audience question will go to Mr. Starlin, Bill Cordwell. The question is, in your opinion, what is the most significant environmental challenge now confronting Ocean Pines, and how would you propose to address it?
The most significant would be our yacht club. What we're going to do there. We are in wetlands over there. We need to figure out what we're doing over there. All our parks are our environmental challenges. And if we, of our assessment. I think that if we do that, we're gonna have to cut recs and parks because, you know, if we close the yacht club, if we close the beach club and shut down, swimming, that's only $18 out of our assessments every year. So there, we're gonna have to come up with another $172 or $182. So are we gonna cut down recs and parks? There's our reminder now. You know, that's what I see is a, you know, a problem going in the future. Our whole community is environmental. So we have a lot of things that we have to take care of. But, you know, the yacht club right now, jockeying that around over there and finding out where we're going to be, and then filling in that space. Apparently, the new building is going to be a slab, so we're not going to have to worry about pilings and all that kind of stuff. But what we do with that yacht club and that marina over there is going to be a huge environmental problem as far as I'm concerned.
Well, obviously, our parks. We have 7 or 8 parks. They need to be maintained, environmentally friendly. Our canals. Bottom line is, a very disproportionate part of our community is built on wetlands. It's nothing but wetlands. And we have to be cognizant of that with construction and with public renovations to make sure our wetlands are maintained. Also, we talk about environmentally our ponds. We hear people, we're going to do something to get the ducks or geese away from the pond. Well, I think that's environmentally not something that we want to do. You know, we want to invite wildlife, we want to encourage wildlife, we want to encourage our water activity, and we want to encourage, excuse me, you have a question? You have something with me there, Mr. Stout?
If I have a question, I'd ask it.
Okay, well, you know, okay. Just making sure, okay. But anyway, environmentally, there are things that we need to take care of.
Environmentally, I think we made a big step forward in the last couple months with the recycling in Ocean Mines. I like to see that. I'm thrilled with that. I like door-to-door pickup, because I got tired of taking my stuff down there. So I think that's a good thing that we've done for the community. I think also environmentally, we are really restricted by what the federal and county and local governments will allow us to do with some of the things. So some things are going to be challenges, but we have to get their approval to do certain things. Touching wetlands, can't do it. Can't build on them anymore. Actually, if Ocean Pines was built now, it wouldn't be here. It wouldn't. It's all wetlands, or a lot of it was. We built in wood ducks areas. That couldn't have happened. So environmentally, I think we're keeping in touch with the local facilities, the coastal bays, and all the groups that are here. And I think we're moving forward. I think the manager's doing a good job keeping track of what's going on with that.
First, go green. Rehabilitate the yacht club, don't throw it away. Secondly, I think our biggest real environmental problem right now is the Bainbridge drainage and flooding problem. If you don't live on one of those streets over there when we have a flooding problem, you probably don't realize how bad it is. It's terrible. I mean, the streets in areas, it's knee-deep. Bob's been doing a good job, I know, working with the county. I think one of our county commissioners, Madison, helped me with his last name, anyways, doing a very good job trying to get some county assistance because it really does block up right at Beecham Road. We can't do anything at Beecham Road. So that would be my number one environmental priority after I save the yacht club.
I didn't know a thing about stormwater management when I came on the board. I learned a great deal, and that remains an issue, and perhaps some millions of dollars that we shouldn't spend on other things need to go to those sections of Ocean Pines that have severe continuing drainage issues. And I don't want to talk for the sake of talking
is, do you support spending $4 million for a new yacht club?
I do not support spending any money for the yacht club at this point in time because we have not finished with evaluating all the information that we have received. We just received that information last Friday. We're in the process of processing that. Now, from where I stand, obviously, we see something that is priced at $4 million and something else that's priced out at $3.5 million or less. We got to look, what's the difference there? What's the difference? What makes this $5.5 million more than what does A make it? What makes A $500,000 more than B? We got to look at all those things, and those things are coming up in discussion. And I can assure you, my vote will be for the best value for our dollar. Thank you.
I don't know if we know the exact number of the yacht club yet. I think the board is still working on it, and the board was going to be making a vote and decision on this. If it's going to be $4 million, it's going to be 3.5, I'm not sure what it is. But yes, I do support we do a yacht club, and we tear it down and rebuild. I'm not in support of patching it at all. I think the important thing is that you all do know you have a vote for this. And secondly, we have set aside the money to do it. And I think all these gentlemen have said it along, we need to do it, we need to do it right. So whatever the board decides to do, the current city board, I would support what they're going to do. Yeah. Thank you.
Another example of climbing up the hill and grabbing too much stuff as you go up the hill. I was kind of iffy at 2.5 million. At 4 million, which does not include the walkway from the marina, the decking where the old building is now, doesn't include the bar deck, doesn't include the outdoor bar, doesn't include the pool deck, doesn't include the pool pump house, it doesn't include furniture. 4 million, this is deja vu. I'm sorry. I not only don't support it, I don't know how, I don't think it's got a 1 in 10 at referendum. I'd be surprised. If it passes, I'll do everything I can if elected to be sure it's done right. But anybody that thinks we're going to pass what's going to turn out to be a $4.5 million referendum, when we lost to $175,000 last year, $175,000, we don't pay any rent. Think about it. That's before depreciation. Come on. What, a new building going to help? Leighton Moore made his first $17 million, didn't have a roof and didn't have a floor.
Well, thank you, Marty, because some of us, including me, will actually give you a straight answer. And the answer is no, I don't support it. I have reasons. The 3 biggest words in real estate are location, location, location. The 3 biggest words in marketing are test, test, test. This is the association which brought you $1 million pool cover without testing it, without having any kind of empirical survey whatsoever, with any validity. It had no marketing plan, no business plan, and it's cost us, since it went up, over $1 million in losses. Did we test the Java Bay Cafe before we spent $100,000 to party it up? And we know the great success we've seen there. So I remain unconvinced that the current management of Ocean Pines is capable of creating and running a business that's going to be here forever and spend a lot more than we need. And I will say, the guy at Point Dr. No, I learned a great deal from. I know. Think of him as Dr. Yes. How's that work? I think the chances of the referendum passing are not quite as high as the Phillies and Orioles playing in the World Series this year. 30 seconds? Good, I'm giving it back to the crowd.
It's hard to say what number I'm going to support, because we don't have a number. But a lot of people have done a lot of work. They didn't just throw this thing together. They've been working on this for a year. Poor Ted Maroney, he was abused the other night by a current board member, and I was embarrassed to be a member of Ocean Pines with the work that poor man has done here. I support building a new yacht club. I don't know what the number is, because I don't know what kind of bids they're doing. That's the current board is taking care of that. When they come back to me with a number, then I'll decide as a resident whether I can support that or not. But just to say, no, I'm not going to vote for something after all this work and hard work has been done. How can you test something like the Java Bank? How can you test it until you try it? We're trying new things. We're trying to bring some money in. We're trying. But some things aren't going to work. Some things may work. But until we have a figure and I see what the difference between those things are. Now, the meeting I sat in, and I stayed till the end the other day, some of those bids include decking. And don't we have furniture in the old building? Are we just going to throw that into the marina and start over again with new furniture? No, we're taking that furniture over. Some of those bids include taking a bunch of kitchen utensils over there. They're not, or kitchen appliances. They're not just throwing everything away. They're looking at what they can reuse. They've had people there looking at what they can reuse. So until I got a figure, until I see it in black and white, I don't know what figure that I can go with, support, but I know a lot of people have been doing a lot of work, and we'll see what happens after Friday's meeting.
Okay, we have one last question, Sharon. I believe it will start with you. Do you favor any change to the entrance to the north gate in Ocean Pines?
No. That's simple. I do not favor any change to the entrance to North Gate. Absolutely do not. It's simple, okay?
Ditto.
Ditto.
I have a little bit more.
I don't favor anything with the entrance, but I do favor something with the exit. I don't think those poor people in St. Martin's Lane should have that thoroughfare, the ones that's going there. Everybody has to go out that way to get to Beauchamp Road to get out of here, because that north gate is too small. Only accommodates 5 cars, and then everybody backs up. We should not have anybody coming in, and all these people that say we need another entrance or another exit in Ocean Pines, that's bull. And we're talking about King Richard Road, that's bull. That's just to try to get something from us so that they can tie into our community and all that. I'm sorry, we don't need any more entrances. We don't need any more exits. And like I say, I try not to use St. Martin's Lane because I don't believe those people should deserve to be on that thoroughfare there. I try to go out the north gate as much as I can to avoid doing that. Sometimes in the summer you just can't, because that exit is just so congested there. You know you're going to be 4 or 5 lights, but no more entrances. We don't need any more people trying to cut in through ours to make it more convenient for us. No, that's bull. They're making it more convenient for business people, and I'm sorry, but I can't do anything else.
The answer is no. We have no responsibility to make private business profitable at the expense of those gate members.
Okay, thank you. That concludes our question and answer period. We will now have closing statements from the candidates. And we will start with Mark Bennett.
Time's up.
Race it to the door. Fellow OPA members, many years ago I was working at home on a Saturday afternoon with my kids. When one of their playmates asked my sons how come I had to work on a Saturday, my older boy explained that sometimes he can't get everything done at his office during the week, to which the little girl wondered aloud, why don't they put him in a smaller group? In this election, I consider myself part of a slower group of OPA property owners who believe we can and should allocate our resources on a more prudent basis. This is a watershed election, as I see it, one where the future of Ocean Pines as an affordable, sustainable, fiscally responsible community is at issue. OPA is by no means on the precipice of financial crisis, but without reining in unnecessary spending, downsizing our capital electives, and significantly redefining the dollar threshold where the board must send a major non-emergency purchase through referendum, without these policy imperatives, OPA's next decade is certain to become one of mounting deficits and unnecessary increases in annual dues. It's a safe bet right now that underperforming amenities will continue to lose money and requiring ever-increasing subsidies to all OPA members without regard to the level of the community's or individuals' participation in those underperforming amenities. Our demographics today encompass a diverse community, as I mentioned before, of young families, singles, and retired people. And as Ocean Pines continues to evolve as a community, I believe that our wants oblige our board to first take into account the essential and collective needs of our property owners, not solely those of special interests that compete and clamor for a piece of our resources. If you share the views I've advanced, I'll ask for your vote. I know well the difficulty in trying to change the philosophy of the current leadership, which has enlarged its reign of secrecy, measured its progress by how close it comes to budgeted numbers instead of focusing on the overall bottom line, and utterly refuses to publish motions that are coming before the board, preventing property owners from intelligently voicing their ideas and opinions about it. I'll also ask for some extra help from those of you who cast a ballot for me. I'll ask that you double the impact of your vote by also voting for Marty Clark. Doing so will send a strong message to the incumbent directors that you want fiscal conservatives as directors of our association and good stewards of your money. Thank you. Thank you for your check.
Bill?
Again, thank you all for coming. This is how we get things done by community input. Those that know me know that I'm pretty serious. I don't have a lot of time for foolishness. So when somebody tells you that they're going to cut your assessment, that's foolishness. I am not going to tell you that. I could not stand here and tell you that in good conscience and go home and look myself in the mirror and say that I'm going to cut your assessment, because it's not going to happen by anybody up here. Not going to happen. That money is going to be used. We need to continue with the 5-year funding plan. We need to get things done. If you don't, I'm not used to doing this. I just saw the need when I see the same people saying the same things for the last 14 years that I've been paying attention. The same people saying the same things, and we don't get anything done. Nobody's going to cut your assessment here. Nobody. So I'm sorry, but I'm not going to apologize for not telling you that. That's the political way to do, especially with senior citizens now. People know. Tell them what they want to hear, or scare them, and I'm not going to do either one. I'm going to tell you what it is, what I think, and what I know, and that's all I can do. And I can go home and look myself in the mirror. Thank you for your time.
Based on past performance, we do not need a fiscally conservative board. Based on past performance, we do not need a fiscally progressive board. For several years, we had a fiscally conservative board, which instead of raising the assessment $5 or $10 to make budgetary needs possible, they took money from the assessments for several years, not from the assessment, excuse me, from the reserve funds for several years, over and over again. So eventually, reserve funds were complete. That creates a situation whereby a plan had to be put into place, which started about 4 years ago, to replenish those reserve funds. That's what a fiscally conservative board did over several years. We don't need a fiscally progressive board. The fiscal progressive board over several years did sign a contract for a new community center that was never built. It cost us $500,000. A fiscally progressive board covered the sports court pool without doing due diligence to see what the energy costs would be. It's cost us approximately $120,000 a year for the energy costs on that facility. What we need is fiscally responsible people. And we need to be fiscally responsible with also understanding the fiscal diversity of the community that we have here. Mr. Clark mentioned that the yacht club needs to be closed down. I guess he didn't hear when I was talking about when the board did close the yacht club down, closed banquet business down, it cost us about $100,000 in revenue. So if we close the yacht club down, all the banquet business will not be there. There will be no weddings, no bereavements, no women's or no garden club luncheons. All those sort of things that support the yacht club with revenue. They're not going to do that if it's closed down. So I guess that business will be taken someplace else. I ask you for your support to help me, help us move forward. Remember, the second hand doesn't go backwards, it goes forward. Thank you.
A few minutes ago, I mentioned why do we all move here? The ocean, we can afford, and the amenities. And we've done a lot of talking today about the amenities, and that's very common. That's what affects us because that's what we read in the paper. That's what everyone talks about. Their experience, good or bad, at the yacht club or the beach club or at the swimming pools or whatever. But I want you to realize how important these amenities are to you. The tax assessor in Worcester County, Mr. Smith, has valued your properties at a value of 15% more because you are here in Ocean Pines. And when I take my customers out and I show them this area, and I show the yacht club, the beach club, and all these facilities, or they have a choice to buy out in the county somewhere, and it could be a like-kind home. Your home, if it's a $200,000 home, and you have a 15% increase, it's $200,000 in the county, but you're worth $230,000 here. And even though we have some losses, even though we're going to have to bite the bullet, and we're going to have to make a decision to keep our amenities up, we need to do it. It's affecting you and your pocketbooks. It's affecting your home values. What is the largest part of most of our portfolios? It's our homes. And yes, we mentioned earlier, the property values have gone down. Believe me, I know that. They have gone down 30%. But tell me a place in this country they haven't in the last 5 years. Good news is our market is picking up. And when people are coming back, and they're asking, why do they want to live here? They want to live here because of these amenities. It's the board's responsibility. It's their mission statement. Their mission statement is to keep your property values up. That's why I'd like to be part of this board. I do ask you for your vote. I will promise you this. I will listen to you. I will.
Wow. George Santelli said, those who can't remember the past are condemned to repeat it. I'm a I've been here a long time and I'm still hearing it. If you're not willing, the yacht club last winter, with the Java Bay Cafe, with the Open for Business, last winter off-season lost $195,000. Keep it open for what? I mean, you've got to be kidding me. This doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to kick the can down the road. I'm just not going to do it. I can't single-handedly close the yacht club. Well, I might. I might. The three big amenities have lost $630,000 last year. This isn't a good plan. It's just embarrassing. Thanks for allowing me to be here tonight and to talk with you. I appreciate the opportunity. You know what you're getting if you vote for me. I'm going to fight for every dollar. I'm not a cheapskate. I'm not a tightwad. Anybody that knows me knows that. But it's your money, not my money. It's your money. And I'll watch it with the fiduciary duty and responsibilities that you give me. Your home value, I keep hearing that we haven't raised dues. I'm looking at the dues, guys. These dues have gone up literally almost every year for 20 years. They went up. The last budget, when you say you can't cut it, does anybody remember the budget 2 years ago? When the Budget and Finance Committee stood in this room? Now, we didn't get to cut much. It was more of a heart victory than it was anything else. But we cut the budget. They were getting ready to vote on it. It failed. Four directors, the majority voted against it. This government way of thinking that we got to keep raising this stuff's got to stop. And I'm going to stop it if I can. I promise you, if I'm on the board, I will do everything in my power to not raise your assessments and to cut them drastically. We got $7 million in the bank. We don't right now have a contract to do anything other than the $1.2 million of depreciation. I see Pete shaking his head. Of course, Pete's shaking his head and rolling his eyes. I'm pretty used to that. Depreciate. You take away the depreciation and you take away the bulkheads. You still got $5 million in the bank and no signed contract to fix anything. That won't be the case if you allow me to serve again. Thank you.
Well, shall we give our candidates a round of applause? Thank you for your time and your attention to this informative forum. Some important dates to remember. The ballots will be mailed out on July 12th. Voting deadline is August 9th. The counting of the ballots will occur on August 10th. And the annual meeting of the Board of Directors is August 11th. And the results of the election will be announced at the meeting. Safe journey home, and thank you.
Thank you.
Dirty Mary,